In the entire history of this beautiful game of kings, we have never seen anything like this. It was Alireza Firouzja playing with the white pieces. There he is, hobbling in like he's 9 months pregnant. He actually suffered a boo-boo to the ankle. And his opponent is Gukesh D, reigning world chess champion, sliding in cool as a cucumber, sitting down at the board. This contest is incredible, and where it sits in the history of chess is just something else. All to come here will be revealed. Let's see what happens in this game. Played in India, by the way. It's the Quant Box Chennai Grandmasters round 2 classical chess, hour and a half each. But boy, does that time disappear. It turns into a scramble. It's so tense, so exciting. This is the Roy Lopez. Let's step through the opening move by move. So white hits a knight and threatens a pawn. So this one's attacked like that. And it begs the question, what if you take, and do this? Well, it doesn't work because you hit 2 pieces and you win your pawn back. So black's saying, I don't care about this. So white backs off and says, I want to keep the bishop pair. So now we get this pawn being attacked. And castles, can you not take it? Well, if you do, you're opening a line of sight to your own king. And white can go rook e1 or d4, win the pawn back soon and with advantage. So we get bishop e7, covering the line to the king. So the pawn is now genuinely under fire. Defended like this in the main line. This now becomes more of a threat. This isn't working the same. So we see the bishop now kicked back. Bishop b3. You could go d6, but castles sets up the so-called Marshall Gambit. If you go pawn c3, main line, black's got this give of a pawn, and you can lead it to these drawn positions at the highest level. So this is a so-called anti-Marshall move. a4, another try there. What to do with black here? You could go d6, but we see the bishop sliding onto this long diagonal. d3 now played, d6 in response, and with the pawn covered, this becomes a real threat to win the bishop pair. So therefore this looks natural. Or this, use the bishop to cover the knight jump, and that's why we now see the knight dropping back, looking super passive. Don't worry, Gukesh isn't setting up for a brand new game, getting ready to resign. He's manoeuvring. We see pawn a4, nibbling at the structure. This one enters the game. Knight c3 now, inviting pawn b4. Then knight e2 can come and c3, d4, very different game. Instead we see pawn to c ships, does kill your own bishop, but builds a wonderful bathtub. Here's Alireza in his, by the way. Chess grandmasters love a bathtub. Kind of looks like a serial killer here, but he's just enjoying life with his Uno deck for some reason. This does support d5 in future, but don't get too trigger happy. There's a lot of pressure on this pawn. Now we see takes. Pawn recaptures like this, maintaining the tub. These rooks go into the blender, come off the board, go into the blender, mixing my words up. Knight's about to rotate, or is it? Alireza starts with knight h4, a more aggressive way of playing. Instead of gearing up to potentially go c3, d4, he's opening the queen, bringing the knight. He wants to attack. He loves to go for the throat. g6 stops the knight hopping, or does it? In some lines, the knight ends up there anyway. Sacrifices, rook lifts into the game. Those themes are in the air. We see bishop h6 hitting the rook, saves itself. Queen f3, so there's pressure on the weakened f7 pawn. Can you do something wild maybe, like push a g-pawn? Well, be careful. Black has counterplay. You can't go too fast. Bishop f8 is now played. Looking to trade these ones, of course. Opening protection on e5 as well. Could d5 be on the way maybe? Shut out these guys. Bishop takes played. King takes might look natural to keep the rook here, but then the queen can start sliding in, and it gets a bit unpleasant. So this is actually the best move. Anyway, queen e3, onto the dark squares. Gukesh senses danger. Here comes the queen, sliding back into the defence. Queen h6 on the way. Imagine this. somehow get rid of the knight. Checkmate on h7. Again, it's a theme. You could go d5, but not played. We get knight c5. It goes for that bishop, so the bishop backs up. Bishop c8 is a great move. Looking to neutralise on this diagonal soon. Knight f3 back. Themes in the air here. And if you go bishop e6 straight away, well, it's not as precise as what's happening in the game. Because now you can play b4. Kick that knight that's defending the bishop. I mean, so's the pawn. But something like this, and actually white's doing better here after the bishop retreats. Pawn structure starts to collapse. Let's not keep clicking. Gukesh saw it. And before you can say, draw me like one of those French girls, there's Ali Reza laid out on the bed. What a guy. Gukesh D gains space. And the clock is really ticking now. 17 minutes for Gukesh, 32 Ali Reza. Bishop e6 looks so natural. Neutralise the bishop, it's the top move. But Gukesh, so ambitious as he is, plays the move. Queen a5. So he's going for the bishop here, which saves itself now. And then he plays pawn b3, shattering this structure over here. Ali Reza capturing, and this is how the game went, and this is how the queen slid in. Knight e3, queen takes on b3, and suddenly there's this fascinating dynamic. Black is hoovering up, let me say vacuuming, I don't think you say hoovering in the States, right? Vacuuming him up, sucking up this queen side here, whilst white is turning the attentions over here, or in the centre. What a battle it is. So queen h4. Not the best, but this is the game. Knight is attacked. You could go king g7, but knight h5 was selected, headed for the f4 square. Now the queen invades. This is why king g7 was a bit stronger. And again, does Gukesh play the top move of queen e6, sliding back to defend, saying, okay, we've all had our fun. Let's trade those queens. Let's keep it peaceful. No, siree. He plays the attacking move. Knight f4. What a game this is. Giving this pawn, taking this pawn. Both players' structures are now a mess. The rook's under fire. Could go rook e2 and cover like this. But this one's played instead. You can't go queen c2. Knight covers the square here. And now black to move. Best play is just developing. Give up on that pawn. Start getting all your bits out. But Gukesh plays f6. Never play it, says Ben Feingold, Grandmaster Ben Feingold. It weakens the king, lifts the kill. It's an ugly, stinky, horrible move. His spidey senses must have been tingling. Does cover some very important knight jumps and protects a pawn, yes, but boy, that's risky. Knight d2 is a great move from Ali Reza, and they're both just playing on increment here. 30 seconds per move, I believe. Queen's hit. She has to slide here to stay with the knight. And rook a1 is a winning idea. Looking to invade here, because you opened up the 7th rank now with f6. Or invade here. You know, you never properly got your bits out into the game. Ali Reza misses it. Rook a1 +3. He, however, plays knight d c4. And it does create a threat. You're hitting the knight. It's still better for white, but there is a fight back on now. Knight f4 is played on the board. King h2 covers h3, prepares g3. In response, we see bishop e6, double hits a knight here, so rook c1 covers, and now you have to deal with the threat. g3 is about to be played, the knight's defending the bishop drops off the board. You could go bishop f7, but maybe it gets passive. Rook f7 is actually strongest. Upon g3, you go rook d7, and you kick away the queen from the pressure. Game rumbles on. But Gukesh plays the horrible bishop takes on c4. And you've given up the one piece that was covering this sensitive diagonal. Rook takes is absolutely the best move. Yes, you give a pawn, and the queen could get funny business down here. But with this invasion and then knight g4 covering f2 and looking to hop, white's actually killing it. But Alireza takes like this, the safer move you could say, holding stuff together, keeping the b pawn. This was now played by Gukesh, rook c2 lifting, queen a4 is strongest because you hit the rook. I'll show you why. Queen b3 was played instead, but now white can go knight e3. And you cover that rook. From a4, rook was hit and pawn was hit. Much stronger. Knight e3 then wasn't possible because the queen takes the pawn. So you have to start retreating. Your c pawn lives. It's minor, tiny inaccuracies that kill these games. King g7 was played and queen takes pawn is now available because of how the pieces have interacted, the way it's played out. This b pawn is a passer, a dangerous one. Queen b4 was played, maybe looking to invade, pressures this pawn. We see queen c4 offering a trade. Not the most precise, but this is human chess. We don't see the trade, could have been gone for, then just try and activate the rook, sit on the head of the pawn. This was the game though, and Alireza invades. So brave from Gukesh, keeping the queens on. When the king is so exposed, we see rook f7. We know Alireza's a deadly attacker. Rook e7 now on the board. Queen covers, fear not. Queen d8 played. Knight e6 hits it, and Alireza, does he move his queen? No siree. He goes to Forktown. Population Gukesh. Knight takes was played. They finally do leave the board and we're in an endgame. And what Gukesh has got to argue here is, yes, you've got the extra pawn, passed, but my rook's going to get active. I'm going to sit on the pawn. Not like that, like a sumo wrestler, squashing you down. Is it enough? Well, this is not ideal. Because now the pawn runs. Protected passer. This should be a lost endgame. We don't even see f3. Simply rook invading, king f7 and b5. And if you start taking this pawn here, you lose valuable time you just can't afford. So this was played instead, hitting the pawn. I mean, I say that, I misspeak actually. You could have taken in that particular position. Please ignore me. What I'm about to say does hold true in a moment, and it's here. Here you can't take the pawn. Here you have to bring the king to step over and cover this guy. This is the big point I'm trying to make, is that you have to deal with the biggest threat that white is throwing down the board, the passer. Yes, Alireza shouldn't have technically swapped the rooks if you're playing like an all-powerful engine, but humanly, this allowed the pawn to run far advanced down the board, distract the king. This is the end game we reach, and amazingly, it looks completely lost, but it's actually not. With this move, knight c5, not played. And the point is, you can spin round, actually win the b pawn. I mean, how on earth do you assess this to a draw? Looks like the king's miles away. White's just going to mop up, run the pawns. But amazingly, the e pawn gets there in time. You swing round, something like this, right? Draw, draw, draw. So it's very understandable that Gukesh missed this entire concept, that he had time to eat the b pawn. Looks like the white king's way too fast. So he went knight d2. Going for the pawn like this. Knight f6 was now played though, covering here, also pressuring here. And after king takes on b6, this king march is completely winning. But again, it gets really complicated. It is not obvious. Let's stick with the game, because Alireza makes a mistake. He plays the move. King f2. Excuse me. And it gives black an opportunity to push with the h-pawn. Save it, of course. And then also cover this g5 square. Create a kind of barrier to the white king's entry, which is important later on. This was played, however. A big mistake, as you can see. Check was on the board. King goes. Pawn drops. This one's attacked here. And after takes with check, king e3. The big problem in these variations is now the king is waltzing in. heading into the position, eating the pawns. This one's saved. Now we see the king step in. G3 covers the knight. King here, and finally that pawn drops. And we reach an endgame, which is decisively, categorically lost. Red carpet's rolled out for the H-pawn. Gukesh resigned here because it's just completely lost. You're going to make a queen, you're going to win the game. It's move 69. And what's so historic about all of this, we have never seen a reigning world chess champion losing so many games as this. Gukesh has plummeted down the rankings. Is he still in the top 20? I'm not even sure. He's way down there. It's unprecedented. Wow. I hope you enjoyed this game. Have a look at the video on screen if you want to see another absolutely epic one of chess. Appreciate all the support, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.